Diary entry. Day 2, July 25th, 1724. The morning light filtered through the cabin window, painting the walls with a soft glow. The Kraken's Revenge had sailed steadily through the night, and the rhythmic creaking of the ship's timbers was a comforting sound as I stirred from my bunk. I rubbed the sleep from my eyes and sat up, the events of the previous day replaying in my mind. The mysterious ship continues to shadow us, its intentions still unknown. We sail onward, ever vigilant and driven by the legend of Shanks's gold. I closed the diary and set it aside, my thoughts turning to the day ahead. The crew would need to be kept sharp and focused, and we still had to determine the nature of our shadowy follower. Rising from my bunk, I stretched and donned my captain's coat, the fabric worn but sturdy. My cutlass hung at my side, a reassuring weight as I prepared to face whatever challenges lay ahead. Stepping out onto the deck, I was greeted by the brisk sea breeze and the sight of my crew going about their duties with practiced efficiency. The morning sun cast a golden light over the ship, and I felt a surge of pride as I watched the men work. Each one was a vital part of the Kraken's Revenge, and their dedication was a testament to the bond we shared. "Morning, Captain," David Lakeman called out as he approached. His grin was as wide as ever, but his eyes were sharp with focus. "Sleep well?" "Well enough, David," I replied, clapping him on the shoulder. "Any news on our shadow?" David shook his head. "They're still there, keeping their distance. No signs of aggression, but it's clear they're interested in us." By midday, the sun was high in the sky, and the air was warm and fragrant with the scent of salt and sea. The crew gathered on deck for their meal, a hearty stew prepared by our cook, Thomas O'Malley. Thomas was a wiry man with a quick wit and a talent for turning even the simplest ingredients into a feast. His cooking was a source of comfort and camaraderie, and the men ate with gusto, their laughter and chatter filling the air. I joined them, taking a moment to enjoy the meal and the company of my crew. It was moments like these that reminded me why I had chosen this life. The bonds we forged on the Kraken's Revenge were unbreakable, and together there was nothing we couldn't face. As the men finished their meal and returned to their duties, David approached me with a thoughtful expression. "Captain, I've been thinking about that ship. They're too persistent to be just curious. What if they're after the same treasure?" I considered his words, a knot of concern forming in my chest. It's possible. The legend of Shanks's gold is well known, and we're not the only ones who would be tempted by its promise. David nodded, his brow furrowed. "We need to find out more about them. If they're rivals, we can't afford to be caught off guard." "You're right," I said, my mind racing with possibilities. "We'll need to be cautious and keep our distance, but we also need to be prepared for a confrontation if it comes to that." As the afternoon wore on, I kept a close eye on the horizon. The mysterious ship remained a constant presence, neither approaching nor retreating. It was a silent reminder of the dangers that lay ahead, and I couldn't shake the feeling that our paths were destined to cross in a more direct manner. In the late afternoon, a change in the wind brought with it a sense of unease. The sky began to darken, and the once calm sea grew restless. I could feel the tension in the air, a palpable energy that set my nerves on edge. "Captain, storm's coming!" David called out, his voice cutting through the rising wind. I nodded, my mind already racing with the preparations that needed to be made. "All hands on deck, secure the sails and prepare for rough seas." The first raindrops began to fall, quickly turning into a torrential downpour. The wind howled and the sea churned, waves crashing against the sides of the ship. I gripped the wheel, my hands slick with rain, and steered the Kraken's Revenge through the tempest. Lightning flashed, illuminating the roiling sea and the determined faces of my crew. Thunder rumbled, a deafening roar that seemed to shake the very foundations of the ship. But through it all, the Kraken's Revenge held steady, her sails straining against the wind but refusing to falter. Hours passed as we battled the storm, each moment a test of our skill and resolve. The crew worked tirelessly, their strength and determination unwavering. Together, we faced the fury of the sea, our bond forged even stronger by the shared struggle. As the storm finally began to abate, the rain lessened and the wind died down. The sea grew calmer and the sky began to clear. Exhausted but triumphant, we had weathered the storm and emerged on the other side. I took a moment to catch my breath, my hands still gripping the wheel. The Kraken's revenge had proven her mettle once again, and I felt a deep sense of pride and gratitude for my ship and my crew. David approached, his hair plastered to his head with rain, but his grin as wide as ever. "Well done, Captain, we made it through." "Aye, David." "We did," I replied, my voice filled with relief. "But we must remain vigilant. Our shadow is still out there, and we can't afford to let our guard down." David nodded, his expression serious. "I'll make sure the men are ready. We won't be caught off guard." As night fell, the stars emerged once more, twinkling like diamonds against the velvet sky. The Kraken's revenge sailed on, her course set for the unknown. I felt a sense of anticipation building within me, a fire that burned brighter with each passing moment. Returning to my cabin, I opened my diary and began to write. July 25th, 1724, I penned. "The second day of our quest has been a true test of our mettle. A storm battered us, but the Kraken's revenge held strong and the crew proved their worth once more. The mysterious ship continues to shadow us, its intentions unknown. We sail into the night, our hearts filled with the fire of adventure. Whatever lies ahead, we will face it together as a crew, as a family." I closed the diary, feeling a sense of satisfaction and determination. The journey had only just begun, and I knew that with my loyal crew by my side, there was nothing we couldn't achieve. The adventure of a lifetime awaited us, and I was ready to embrace it with all my heart. The night was calm, a stark contrast to the chaos of the storm. The stars shone brightly, guiding our way as the Kraken's revenge sailed steadily through the water. I stood at the helm, my eyes scanning the horizon for any sign of our mysterious follower. David joined me, his expression thoughtful. "Captain, I've been thinking, if they're after the same treasure, they might try to intercept us at some point. We need to be ready." I nodded, appreciating his insight. "Agreed. We'll need to stay one step ahead of them, keep a lookout posted at all times, and make sure the men are ready for anything." David nodded, his determination evident. "Aye, Captain. We won't be caught off guard." As the night wore on, I took the time to reflect on the journey so far. The legend of Shanks's gold had drawn us into this adventure, but it was the bonds we shared that would see us through to the end. The Kraken's revenge was more than just a ship. It was a family bound together by a common purpose and an unbreakable spirit. In the early hours of the morning, I retired to my cabin, my mind still buzzing.